Please welcome AIPAC Board Chair, Mort Fridman.
We are honored to be joined this afternoon by the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. The Prime Minister joins us live this afternoon from his office in Jerusalem. Mr. Prime Minister, can you hear me?
Perfectly, thank you.
Wonderful, you're welcome. Mr. Prime Minister, gathered here in Washington are more than 18,000 Americans who are deeply committed to the U.S.-Israel relationship. We have come to our nation's capital this week to ensure that our voices are heard. America and Israel need each other more than ever, and we, as AIPAC activists, Democrats and Republicans, are committed to strengthening the bond between our two great democracies. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Prime Minister of the State of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Good evening, AIPAC, and greetings from Jerusalem, the united capital of Israel, which will never be divided again. Greetings to Chairman Mort Fridman, President Betsy Burns-Korn, Executive Director Howard Corr, and everyone at AIPAC who has dedicated themselves to strengthening this fantastic organization. Greeting to the 4,300 students who are there today. And greetings to the 18,000 people who have come from all across America to stand together in support of the great alliance between America and Israel, an alliance which I'm proud to say today is stronger than ever. We were all reminded a few days ago that there are forces who seek to break our alliance. Last year, those who came to AIPAC were accused of dual loyalty. This year, AIPAC was accused of providing a platform for bigotry. These libelous charges are outrageous, and the best way to respond to that outrage is to do what you have done by gathering in Washington today in full force, by coming together as Democrats and Republicans, as liberals and conservatives, as people of different faiths, races, and ethnicities. You send a powerful message to all those who seek to weaken our great alliance that they will fail. Now, I'd love to be there to speak to you, to do that in person, but as some of you might have heard, we have a little election going on in Israel. You know, we used to have an election every few years, but lately we've been having them every few months. We don't have a Groundhog Day in Israel. I'm beginning to feel a little like Bill Murray in that movie. I hope that tomorrow's election will lead to a decisive outcome. I hope that I'll be able to form a strong and stable government that can help Israel deal with both the great challenges and the enormous opportunities we face. One of those opportunities was the terrific plan put forward recently by President Trump. Trump's deal of the century is the opportunity of the century for Israel. It enables Israel to secure our vital security and our vital national interest by recognizing Israel's sovereignty over the Jordan Valley and over the Jewish communities that flourish in the heart of our ancestral homeland. It leaves open a path to a political settlement with the Palestinians, and it will help enable Israel to normalize our relations with our other Arab neighbors in the years ahead. Last week, a joint U.S.-Israel mapping committee began its work. It's working as fast as possible to finish the job. I believe that that work should be finished in the next couple of months. Israel would then apply its laws to all those territories that are designated by the Trump plan as being part of Israel. And the United States will recognize those territories as part of Israel. This will be a truly historic day. The map of Israel will change, the future of Israel will change, and it will change for the better. Rest assured, Israel will leave the door open for a political settlement with the Palestinians. Israel will remain prepared to negotiate on the basis of President Trump's vision anytime, anywhere. And I hope that the Palestinians will finally reject the path of terrorism and incitement and finally embrace the path of peace and reconciliation. But I will never, ever place Israel's future in the hands of Palestinian rejectionists. Just as I have over the last decade, I intend to continue to work to strengthen Israel in the coming years, militarily, economically, technologically, and diplomatically. I believe real breakthroughs with the Arab states can happen a lot sooner than people think, much sooner. These states recognize that Israel is a valuable ally for confronting common dangers. And the greatest danger that we all face is the danger of a nuclear Iran. I have pledged that Israel will not allow a regime that calls for our destruction to obtain the weapons to achieve that goal. Israel will do whatever it must do to defend ourselves and secure our future. I guarantee you that as long as I'm Prime Minister, Iran will never have nuclear weapons. And I know that in securing that future, we do not stand alone. We have many friends who stand with us around the world, and we have no better friends than all of you, the proud members of AIPAC who have come to Washington today to stand up for the great alliance between our two countries. As I said, that alliance is stronger than ever before, and I have news for all those radicals who seek to weaken it. The best days of the U.S.-Israel alliance are still to come. Thank you, AIPAC. Thank you for standing with Israel. God bless you all, and God bless the great friendship between America and Israel. Thank you, AIPAC.
Mr. Prime Minister, thank you. There are many pressing issues affecting both of our countries. AIPAC activists are following these issues closely, and we'd like to ask you a few questions. Our first question.
Go ahead.
Our first question comes from Lauren Geller from New York.
We are greatly concerned about the threat on Israel's northern border. Hezbollah continues to expand its arsenal, especially with more targeted, advanced, and deadly weapons. How is Israel responding to the Hezbollah threat?
Well, you're quite right to identify precision-guided munitions, precise missiles, and rocketry that can reach inside Israel. Because Israel is a small country, and if you can attack critical installations with thousands of precision-guided munitions, that's very dangerous. So I've identified that as, after the nuclear threat, as the second greatest threat to Israel. And by the way, that's also coming from Iran, because Hezbollah is merely an Iranian proxy. The answer is that we're working against that as well as against the nuclear threat. And I guarantee you, we will do whatever it needs to, whatever we need to do to defend ourselves. And I think Hezbollah knows it. And if they don't, they will.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Our next question comes from Kendra Lawrence from Miles College in Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you. You have expressed strong support for the Trump plan and have accepted the president's call for the parties to return to the negotiating table. How do you get the Palestinians back into talks, especially when President Abbas has repeatedly refused your invitations? And how do you ultimately get to an agreement with the Palestinians?
Well, you know, I think President Trump's plan is refreshing because it stops pampering the Palestinians. The Palestinians have been the pampered children of the international community. They keep rejecting every suggestion of compromise. Every suggestion of compromise. They keep wanting to do away with the Jewish state. They just don't recognize our presence here. So President Trump put it to them, look, we're not going back to 1967. We're not going back to 1917 or 1947. We're not. Israel is here to stay. The Jewish communities are here to stay. Now let's make a realistic peace. That's refreshing. Now, it may take them a while, you know, to have withdrawal symptoms. You know, they have to overcome the pampering that they've been used to. And I think that this is important because you cannot base peace on a foundation of lies. And what the Trump plan has done is to put peace on a foundation of truth and respect for the rights of Israel as the Jewish state. But I think there's something else that I think will happen and is happening. And the most exciting thing that is happening, and I'm very proud that I have the opportunity to lead it, is the peace that we are making with the Arab states. You know, last year, I was in Oman with the late Sultan Qaboos. He knew he was dying, and he knew that I knew that he was on his deathbed. But one of the last things that he wanted to do was to invite me as the Prime Minister of Israel to Oman to shake hands and to say, let's move on towards peace between us. A few weeks ago, after Oman, I was now with the President of Sudan. Sudan was the country in which the great condemnation of Israel and the refusal to make peace with Israel was announced after the '67 war. It's changed. We met and we agreed that we are on the way of normalizing. Over time, we'll make peace with Sudan. I cannot tell you how many other countries there are. This is just the tip of the iceberg. In fact, there are about 50 or so, maybe 60, Arab and Muslim countries around the world. And I can count on the fingers of one hand those that we don't have extensive relations and growing relations with them. That's because Israel is strong, and people respect the fact that we are economically strong, technologically strong, militarily strong. They want to seize Israel's gifts and talents as to improve their own peoples. And I think the fact that we are making this gradual normalization and peace with the Arab world will eventually also wag the 1%. Because what has happened for decades is that the 1% of the Palestinians wag the other 99%. That's changing. I think that ultimately is the best path to peace. It's called peace through strength and pride.
Mr. Prime Minister, thank you for being with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in thanking the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Thank you.